Welcome to This Week in Crowder College, an in-depth look into how Crowder College students, faculty, and staff are working together so students soar to new heights, communities are impacted, and lives are changed. This Week in Crowder College is sponsored by the law offices of Wood and Peterson in Neosho, specializing in workers' compensation, personal injury, Social Security disability, and more. Learn more online at neoshoattorney.com. Now here's this week's edition of This Week in Crowder College.
Hey there, Four States. This is Luke Taylor, and welcome to This Week in Crowder College. And I have on the phone with me today, Jorge Zapata. And Jorge is head of the agriculture department over there at the college. And they had an interesting past few weeks that he's going to tell us about. And so, Mr. Zapata, thanks for being with us.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, we've been on the road or in the air for the past 10 days. We flew down to Costa Rica on May 14th and stayed till the 24th. 10 days, and took 20-some-odd students down there to study agriculture. Every year we take a travel seminar course to somewhere, and sometimes it's domestic within the U.S. borders, and sometimes we're fortunate we can get out and go see some international locations, and we've been to Peru and Scotland and Costa Rica a few times, and Alaska, and I know that's the U.S. still, but that's a good little haul, and Hawaii. And so what we're trying to do is get our students to see a 10,000-foot view of agriculture as a whole and how they are all connected with the shrinking world and the way we trade food around. It is a way better way to explain it when you can see it, smell it, taste it versus PowerPointing it. And so we're super fortunate that we're able to do this. We get some help from the foundation, the Crowder College Foundation, from a generous donation that was given to the Ag Division. And we fundraise thousands and thousands of dollars to make sure that our students are able to afford these great excursions because we know not everybody has a couple grand hidden under their pillow. So those that hustle, we will definitely reward, and they get to pay less. And those that maybe have a good job in town, they can just write the check, and that's fine too. But ultimately, we want everybody to have the opportunity to be able to travel and see and experience what's not in our little, corner of the Southwest Missouri.
And I think it's an experience that these students are going to carry with them for the rest of their lives. Some of the things they saw and might
absolutely
never get a chance to see again.
These stories will tell their grandkids, those kind of things that because when you see how the rest of the world works and how fortunate we are in many aspects. And not to say that these places that we go don't have some really great things about them, but when we see the conveniences, I think, that we have and the opportunities that we have in this country versus what's going on in other parts of the world where they're spending 54% of their income on food. And this is a good point. We went to a little sandwich shop, and but it's a $12 sandwich, which is not unlike what we would pay. But when the students found out how much the average day laborer makes out there, it takes them a day and a half to afford a sandwich. So they're like, why in the world? We would never go to this kind of, little sandwich shop restaurant. Well, no. And that's the advantage that you have by living in the country that you do, that you work less than an hour and you can afford a $12 meal versus these people who have to work a day and a half to even get one sandwich, much less feed their family. So I think that those are good eye-openers when we start changing perspectives and paradigms of how the world works and how agriculture works. And, when you look at the pineapple and you see how much work it took to get that pineapple to a little box at Walmart, changes the way that you look at food. We went and explored some coffee plantations, and granted, I complain about coffee. I was like, oh my gosh, I think it's $4 a cup. Well, maybe after you see how much work it takes to make that coffee a reality all the way here in our coffee shops, it is so much labor and so much sweat and so much shipping and all the things that happen to it for it to get to us and for our retailer to be able to charge $4 is almost a deal. So we got to explore that. We went into some cattle ranches and the way that, we live in cattle country here in Southwest Missouri. And so our students are very interested in how their cattlemen do the raising and processing and growing of cattle. And they have such a different environment. I mean, we, right now, especially, we're in the hot and muggy season here, but they're in hot and muggy season all the time. And so for them to make some breeding decisions as far as what kind of cattle they're going to raise and the grasses that they grow and how they fatten their animals. And we went and saw a feedlot that they are feeding their cattle like banana peels. And those cattle are getting that with a little bit of grain, and they're turned out on grass, and that's how they fatten their cattle, which is very, very different than what we do here in the U.S. And here in the Midwest especially. So I think it's so great for our students to hear it. And this is one of the great things about it, is that they're hearing these lectures and these tours from the people who run those facilities, from the CEOs and the managers and the folks that are hands-on at those facilities. And so we get about 22, 25 tours in per travel seminar. And so they're getting a whole lecture series. As a matter of fact, I'm grading them right now, but each student wrote about 50 pages over the week. And then they also had a research paper, 2 pre-research papers, and a final research paper that they do afterwards. So, I mean, this is a very writing-intensive, learning-intensive opportunity that I think it's one of the best things that we do here on campus.
We're having a great conversation today with Jorge Zapata. He is the head of the agriculture department over there at Crowder College, and we're going to continue this conversation again next week right here on the program. So we hope you'll be back on This Week in Crowder College.
Thank you for listening to This Week in Crowder College. This Week in Crowder College is sponsored by the law offices of Wood and Peterson in Neosho. You can listen to this broadcast again by going online to kneo.org or to crowder.edu. Tune in once again next week for another edition of This Week in Crowder College on KNEO 91.7 FM.
If you live within the broadcast area of KNEO Radio, we have a podcast just for you. The KNEO Community Connection keeps your finger on the pulse of what's coming up in the 4-state area, telling you about upcoming events you don't want to miss, organizations in our communities doing great work, and conversations with the dynamic citizens who are behind it all. There's a lot going on around you that you don't want to miss. This is Luke Taylor. Join me each week as we talk about what's happening with the people who are making it happen. Brought to you by KNEO Radio 91.7 FM and the Sky High Podcast Network. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts.